Hello, everyone. Welcome to Steven Shinder Reviews in video form, and I'm here to talk about the series premiere of Star Wars Skeleton Crew. We got the first two episodes. They dropped on Disney Plus. The first one being titled "This Could Be a Real Adventure," and the second one titled "Way, Way Out Past the Barrier." So, yeah, it's been almost a day since these came out, and no spoilers, at least not just yet. I might touch on spoilers like toward the end of this, but I really enjoyed these episodes. They're probably overall like both 8 out of 10 for me. This feels like the most fun I've had watching Star Wars in a little while. I'm not one of those people who's like, oh, Star Wars has been bad for years and years and years, but for the last maybe year or so, I've had my ups and downs watching Star Wars. You know, uh, I've already like done videos on the Acolyte, my ups and downs with that show, and overall, I thought it was okay, I guess. Ahsoka took a while for me to get into that show because of the different ways that the familiar characters were being portrayed, and it took a while for them to feel like themselves. It took a few episodes for Ezra to show up, for example. The Bad Batch, I kind of got clone fatigue by the end of it, so I was kind of on it by the end. At Tales of the Empire, I did enjoy that somewhat, although I do think certain things could have been explored more from what I remember. But yeah, this was kind of an I mean, I kind of had a feeling that I would enjoy this show, but I think a bunch of people are kind of surprised how much they're enjoying this show, Skeleton Crew, because, when some of these shows were announced way, way back, you had these familiar characters who'd be headlining these things like Obi-Wan Kenobi, Ahsoka, Andor. Well, I guess Andor was kind of a surprise for some people because they're like, really, you're making a show about that guy? But then it turned out to be a huge hit the way that it tells a story. I'm really looking forward to season two of that. And, Mandalorian, a no brainer in terms of being a big hit. Book of Boba Fett. I mean, people were excited about that, but then what happened there happened there. But yes, the Acolyte was gonna explore the past of Star Wars, so a new era, so that got people excited. So I feel like Skeleton Crew was kind of the outlier here among some of these things. We knew that this would be kind of akin to some of those Amblin Entertainment kids movies of the 80s, like The Goonies, E.T., that sort of stuff. Maybe even one upping what they were trying to do with the Ewok movies, Caravan of Courage and Battle for Endor around that time period. And yeah, like people have been really enjoying this, and I really enjoyed it. There weren't really any baffling writing decisions, and you have these characters, Wim and Neil, they're classmates, and Neil is the one who is kind of looks like a blue elephant like Max Rebo, but it's not the same species as has been stated prior. And I don't know, I got a real kick out of how they were pretending to fight with lightsabers, and it's it works on two levels because there's that thing of we are Star Wars fans, we've definitely done this before, but there's also the added element of in universe there are characters who look up to the Jedi, and so that's what they're doing here. And I thought it was a really fun moment, and seeing the suburbs in Star Wars, that doesn't bother me. I think it's really fun, and seeing what the classroom setting is like here, it's kind of similar to things in our world. And you even have Neil saying he has a crush on someone, and it's like this feels really down to earth Star Wars. Um, and of course, you get other characters, Fern and KB, in the mix. I guess I'm doing like spoilers now, like yeah, but um, like it just feels very fun, very adventurous. Um, you got the dad character. It did get kind of repetitive having him always say, I have to work. Yeah, I think he says it like 3 times or something. So kind of feels like he lacks a bit of dimensionality there. But I think the kids here, like they're doing a great job as these characters. So they look for what they think is an old temple. I think a Jedi temple. Throughout you see Wim looking on this data pad at seemingly old stories of Jedi, and lots of us like fans, young and around, kid fans and fans around my age. I'm 30. Just in case you didn't know, like to browse um, stuff, Star Wars lore, and so this felt very relatable. But this doesn't really shove Easter eggs too much into your face. There is a moment in the second episode that did feel like a bit of a throwback, but yeah. So they end up on this what turns out to be this old pirate ship, and they end up flying out into space, and they end up at this pirate spaceport. So in the second episode, there's this, I guess it's a cantina or a restaurant type thing, and it kind of feels like they do the inverse of the he doesn't like you interaction in A New Hope. Like instead, you have the person working behind the counter trying to scam these kids, trying to get as much money as possible, but the person, the customer, who's kind of in the place that Dr. Evazan was sitting or whatever, or Ponda Baba, one of them. The customer is the one who says, "Hey, this person's trying to scam you," and I think has kind of a similar voice and even hurts the server's arm. So that's, I think, a little shout out to Ponda Baba's arm getting sliced off in A New Hope. But it's definitely another Cantina homage. I can't resist doing these Cantina homages, but I do kind of like that it wasn't the exact same thing. Like it was the inverse. And yeah, I also like this droid character voiced by Nick Frost. I can't recall if he's been in Star Wars before, but Simon Pegg has definitely played a couple characters, Unkar Plutt and Dangar, and he's a fun character. And you know how the kids convince this droid that uh, they killed the old pirate crew, so now the droid has to serve them. And this little rodent thing that lives in the droid's eye socket. I think that's a fun little thing. Maybe that's kind of what's reminding people of Treasure Planet. That little thing. And I've been saying for a long time that a Star Wars pirate movie feels like a no-brainer. Something that Lucasfilm should try. Pirates of the Galaxy's Edge. You could have Hondo. You could have the Crimson Corsair and his crew. You could have Maz Kanata. Um, and we're kind of getting a bit of that here with some of the pirates that are around here. I forgot to mention off the top that the show begins with a pirate crew, and one of them is a Shistavanian named Brutus. So it's like, oh, with that name, he's definitely gonna stab someone in the back. But that Wolfman species, the one that I think got cut out of the Cantina scene when A New Hope was re-released on a special edition. But it's cool that they bring these aliens back wherever they can. Keeping those memories alive, but still telling a new story here. Like there's a lot of fun and wonder throughout these episodes. And I feel like there's something else I was about to mention. Oh yeah, I feel like we have been, well, some of us anyway who've been watching have been kind of primed to get ready for a pirate centric Star Wars show. Just a couple months ago, maybe in August, I believe, we got the most recent run of episodes of Young Jedi Adventures. It's a more kid oriented animated show. It's a fine, fun show. Sometimes the episode stories kind of run together in my head after I watch them, but I do remember the most recent string of episodes had those young Jedi characters in the High Republic era going up against pirates or dealing with pirates or something like that. So when watching those, I was like, okay, they're trying to prep the audience for Skeleton Crew. You know, you might have kids watching that show and then they decide, you know what, I want to see more pirate action in Star Wars. I want to see this show, Skeleton Crew. And of course, we've had pirate stuff going on in some High Republic comics, and those have been fun. So yeah, and surprisingly, Jude Law's character Jod doesn't show up until the very end of the second episode here. You know, after the kids have been imprisoned, and he is a Force user, and they think he's a Jedi, but there very well could be a reveal that he's not a Jedi. Maybe I don't know what his agenda is. Maybe he's a dark sider, or maybe he's somewhere in the middle, you know, like you know, as the Bendu would say, you know. But yeah, I thought this was a really fun premiere. It brought back some of that joy in Star Wars. You know, there are some Star Wars things that deal with serious topics, or sometimes take themselves maybe too seriously, and um, acting all serious seems to be, you know, like they have things being all serious and think that, oh, okay, this is enough, but not taking into account some of the other writing and acting choices and just how the overall story is structured. But here, I feel like it's not that it's a kids show that's, you know, I'm not giving it leeway just because it's more family friendly. I really do feel like this story is paced very well. It's fun. It's exciting. You have these characters who feel well developed enough to root for, and so yeah, I'm really excited for this ride. You know, I wasn't really planning on reviewing this show week to week. You know, because um, Star Wars fandom has not been such a fun place, and you know, so it wasn't even on my radar, especially after taking a recent break from the channel in light of real life stuff. You know, it was on my radar that this would be the next show that I would review week to week. You know, I wasn't even thinking, but after watching the premiere and really enjoying it, you know, as I said, 8 out of 10. Really curious to see what happens next. Um, I I feel like this is the most fun I've had watching Star Wars in quite a while. So yeah, and also the planet that the kids came from, at Atin. I think that's the planet they came from. Like I kind of wonder if maybe there's a connection between that and ATATs. You know, the transports, but maybe not. But yeah, I think this is kind of a surprise hit, or I say hit when I don't even know the viewing figures, but I feel like it's gonna be solid. I really hope that it tells a self-contained story. You know, it's if it ends up being a one and done season, I hope they tell all the things they want to say, or at least have it so that it doesn't feel like it leaves things hanging. Because with some of these streaming shows, it's kind of hard to predict like how things are gonna go. Um, but yeah, I really like that this is in its own corner of the Star Wars universe. Like it does take place around the time of the Mandalorian, like the New Republic era shows, I should say. So maybe like 6 years or so after Return of the Jedi. But I don't think there's gonna be much crossover, and I don't think there needs to be. I think maybe it takes place around the same time, simply because they probably don't want to put it further in the timeline, when there could be other big events that could impact like future years in the timeline of this era, and it would be kind of weird if something like that happened and they don't mention that it happened in the past of this show, you know. But yeah, I think this it could do a really great job standing on its own. But with Star Wars being Star Wars, I was gonna say you can't really rule out cameos, but I thought I saw a headline recently where someone working on the show said not to expect cameos or something. But who knows? I'm in for the ride. Really excited about this show, and yeah, I don't know what else to say. I feel like I'm going in circles Now, really enjoy the show. So I guess I'll be back next week talking about the next episode if I feel like it. I guess I should say, because you never know what could happen. But yeah, thanks for tuning into Steven Shinder reviews in video form, and I'll see you all soon.